Fall is all about cozy comforts, but when you're prioritizing your health, it's easy to feel like you're missing out. With Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your fall favorites because they're made with Hero Bread sliced bread loaves, tortillas, bagels, dinner rolls, and more. Try their all-new Hero Noodles with 12 grams of protein and just 80 calories. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. They've even got small batch drops of indulgent favorites like the popular Hero Croissant. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's FALL25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.
All right. Hi, welcome to Curious Joel, a show about curiosity and taking us deeper into the topics of people's passion and interesting conversations. I'm your host, Sean Miller. My guest today is Joel Circo. Now, Joel, what's your passion?
That was almost spot on. The only thing you messed up on, Sean, is curiosity taking us deeper, not takes us. You were so very close. That is
I'm so upset because I wrote it down to make sure I got it right, and I literally wrote taking on this. Oh, I'm so upset.
But that was, other than that, and by the way, as far as my 53 episodes go, pretty spot on for having a mistake in there.
Yeah. The one I was listening to try to write that down.
Oh,
you missaid your name. So
yeah, no, that's what I said. Like, you did make a mistake on the actual script, but that is par.
That's par for the course. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So as my host said, this is Curious Joel. I technically am the host here, Joel Circo, which if you want to hear some funny backstory about that, not backstory, side story about that, check out my Patreon for some very interesting stuff about that. But yeah, today is going to be a topic, not an interview, but a topic, as both Sean and I are nerds of the D&D sort, and to an nth degree of not just playing, but we also run games of D&D, known that position being known as Dungeon Master, in charge of these imaginary worlds. So Sean, I'm gonna toss it over to you, kind of for people that like have no idea what we're talking about. Break down like what TTRPGs are, which I'll let you even break down that acronym, and like what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Yeah, for sure. So, breaking down the acronym TTRPG, it stands for Tabletop Role-Playing Game. So, the way I like to describe it to people coming in is it is a story that you are telling with other people at the table, right? Helped along the process by the dungeon master, who's playing everyone that isn't a player at the table,
right?
The rules and the dice rolls. And so that pretty much encompasses almost every TTRPG. Some do cards. That's a fun one.
Sure.
But really what it is it's that collaborative storytelling. Yeah, big time.
I was gonna say collaborative storytelling is one of the ways that I hear it described most as a very succinct way to describe it. The way I like to talk about it and what I like about role-playing games like this and D&D is just one of the most popular and I think one of the more straightforward ones, because it's referenced so much. Like it's been around for ages, and so like there's things that just kind of like sink into regular society and pop culture, so it's a little easier to reference versus something like Blades in the Dark, that like it technically can be a simpler system or whatever. Anyway, I'm already off topic, like woo.
We just go.
Yeah, we do. As you can tell, we also know each other fairly well.
Indeed.
You can tell because the smoothness of the conversation. So the way I try and describe Dungeons and Dragons specifically, it applies to others as well. But is imagination with rules. Because, and I actually was explaining this just the other day to somebody, of like, if you're playing pretend with your siblings or whatever, and you're like, my superhero has 100 strength. It's like, yeah, well, mine has 1,000 strength, and it's like, mine is infinity strength. It's like, I have infinity +1. It's like, okay, cool, this is dumb. Like, we're not like, what is this? What's happening? And so, like, imagination, and this is gonna sound weird, and this is contextual, but like, imagination with playing with others without some sort of limit gets kind of dumb and stupid and not fun. So what Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games does is gives you parameters. Those parameters can be bent and changed, but there still are parameters. Like, you can be like, it's like a fence post. You can be on the fence, you can be over the fence, but at least you know where that fence is. You know, so I like that it gives structure to unlimited imagination.
Yeah, I
Which
like to like kind of playing off of that analogy, like
Mhm.
describing it as like a frame that you
Mm,
hang the story on and the playing
I
pretend on. The
yeah,
frame is those rules.
yeah. Like, I mean, and with Dungeons and Dragons, they do have books, both for players and dungeon masters, and stuff like that. And so, if you hear us refer to a random title, it's most likely a book in that. But I was going to say, like, in the Dungeon Master Guide, which kind of tells you how to do it. One of the first things that a lot of people skip right past is they say, "Here's a starting point. Do whatever you want." Basically, it's a very liberal reiteration of it, but basically say, hey, you don't have to follow these rules. These just give you an idea of how to play the game and how to run a game as a DM. You can then either completely discard these and do whatever you want, but at least it gives you a framework of how to make something that makes sense. Gives you a world with rules and limitations that you can play with, but they tell you basically, like, hey, from here, do whatever you want. And I think a lot of dungeon masters and game masters for other games kind of like go, well, but the rules don't allow that. It's like, but this is your world. You're the author of this world. You create the intricacies. You make all this stuff. Like, you can use preset stuff. You can make, but you can also make stuff up. But yeah, so it get that framework. I like that because that's what even D&D themselves say is like, hey, here's a basic idea and have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of my biggest things that I do is what is called homebrew, which is the making stuff up part. It's the not
Right.
just using what's written in the books. And
Mhm.
to the point where at one of the conventions I went to, I hosted a panel about homebrew,
Oh,
specifically with that in mind, like how to create and how to homebrew a world and story and rules
yeah.
and that whole thing.
That's
And I would
awesome.
say I'm a pretty prolific homebrewer. I have I before getting on here, I made sure to count. I have at minimum 300 documents either on Google Docs or on like the notes app on my phone.
Uh-huh.
300 documents centered around D&D, and I think maybe like 12 of them actually have follow the rules to a T. To the point where,
Yeah.
like, yeah, just homebrewing involves making just a world up. I know that a lot of friends I have who like to play D&D, they are storytellers, they're world builders, they're writers and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
so getting a chance to build this world and then put people in there and they can do whatever they want
Right.
in that world is really fun because it gives
Yeah.
you that opportunity to say, okay, how are they going to experience this? It's a lot different than, say, writing, which I'm also doing. But like writing a book, you know how the reader's going to interact with the book
Right.
because they're reading the same words.
more or less. I mean,
Mm.
you can't guarantee the reactions and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
but like,
But you're
you have the plot, you know where the twists are going to happen, you
yeah,
know the actions,
you know how the
you
characters are gonna react,
right, you know there's
or
going
at
to
least you
be
get there once the story's finished.
right, but like, you know, like, hey, that guy's going to die because I've already figured out how that works.
Yeah,
I
I know how
googled
that's
some
going
things that I
down.
probably shouldn't have, but like, I know that character's going to die, and then I've put a lot of attachment into that, so then the reader's going to probably be crying right now, so I'm going to give it a
Yeah.
little thought. Like, you can like plan those things out, and you know all the steps in there. Where when you what dungeon masters do oftentimes when people like start trying to figure out what I'm doing, actually, I think of myself as a game engine. So if you play video games, like, you've heard of like Unreal Engine or Unity or Doom Engine or something
I was
like
gonna
this.
say you
Like,
got it. That those are the two, Unity and Unreal. Come on.
you forgot Doom Engine. That's the first game engine that was run on like nanocells, like organic nanocells,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
Yeah. So I can't forget that one. I'm not, I don't play Doom, but I know the system is a decent one that's still used today. Anyway, but yeah. But Unreal Engines is one of the popular ones. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm making a sandbox world, and then letting users come in and go, all right, well, I'm going to do this. Oh, no, I broke it. Oh, can you fix it? Yes, I can. Here you go. Have fun. Oh, you broke it again. But like, I'm creating the physics of the world. I'm creating the effects. I'm calculating what they need to actually encounter. I'm calculating. I'm the one that's making the dialogue for any people in the video game you see. I'm making sure that the sun is shining and that you actually have the effect of that sun shining. So like, I'm holding all this information. I'm running this world in real time as players are going, "What do I see?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you what you see." You know, and so I think of it as a game engine because, like, at the end of the day, the developers aren't there like on these open world like MMORPGs and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that acronym right now, but massively multiplayer online games. It's the developers only have so much say in what happens because the players are the ones that do it. Like, if you think like Minecraft type stuff, they have no say in what that world's going to look like at the end. They're like, well, you can put a block here and a block here, and if you put these blocks together, this happens. Oh no, you made a computer in your game that is running another game. Cool.
or
Didn't
running
see that.
Minecraft in that way.
Or running another Minecraft in the game. But like, I don't think the people that made Minecraft were like, you know what, people are probably going to use this for making another version of our game in the game.
Yeah.
I guarantee none of them were like, yeah, that's probably what they're going to do. They're going to be like, yeah, they're going to like make houses and stuff and mine and
And
craft.
craft.
Yeah, not, oh, I made a 2-scale replica of the world, and like, I made a whole city with people, and oh gosh, what are they doing? Like, but that's where I mean, like, we only provide space and rules. Like, we make the physics of the world. I can decide that actually you are strong enough to hold the planet in your hand or whatever. Like, I can make that as a part of my world. I can make it so that time doesn't work how it normally works if you say certain words or something like that. Like, I can make whatever that is happen. It's similar to that, whereas it was similar to like writing, where like Star Wars. Yeah, we don't have a force here in the world.
How's that
Someone
work?
was like, yeah, it's like someone's like, okay, here's how the force works. Cool. Yep, there we go. And like, Star Trek has a few things that if you ask like astrophysicists,
Tachyon reflectors and
right, and like if you
yeah.
talk to people that are really into science, like, none of that works that way. But
Yeah,
what
yeah, an
what I've
antimatter
actually,
engine.
well, but the thing that I like
Potentially.
about that is there's a few people in those realms that I've listened to them interviewed about like sci-fi. They're like, here's what we care about is consistency. You're making your own whole world, and whatever you make, as long as you stay true to that, we don't care, because you've just made different physics for your world, and that's okay, because it's, what was it, science fact, right? No, science fiction. That's right, it's science fiction. which means the science is fiction. We have no proof of any of this. You can't teleport things instantly, but that's why it's fiction. Is as long as you have a world that's consistent, that's what all that matters, and that's what I try and provide my players with, is a world that they know actions and consequences. Just like here, if you jump up, you're gonna come down. In my world, people know that if you are rude to an NPC, they're gonna be not very happy with you. And some DMs don't care about that, and that's fine. Other DMs if you're rude to people, they're gonna get all angry and get in your face. I'm like, I don't like that. I've seen real interactions, and I try to mimic that in my worlds. But so that's what the DM is doing, is running the anything that's not a player. Anything else is the DM. The world, the other people, the villains, the politics, the economy. Whatever else is in your world.
And one of the things with that is world builder's disease is rampant in our circles, where it's like, oh man, we can't play this game if I don't know what the economy's like, or I can never start this until I have a list of how many items do I have on this homebrew list I made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I need 18 possible elemental items just in case they ever interact with this one creature that only exists in one part in the entire world.
Right.
You don't need that. But we strive to have a bunch,
And so a solution that I have actually developed for myself is rendering. Speaking of a video game mechanic, rendering. So until a player is going to interact with it, until it's within its line of sight, so to speak, I don't need to worry about it. If they're not going into the palace, I don't need to know all the names of the people in the palace. I don't need to know how contrite the king is. I don't need to know if the prince is in good standing with the king. I don't need to know how many guards there are. I don't even need to know how big the castle is on the unless they start asking questions about it. If it's not in their scope of view or any way that's going to influence them, all I need to know is what's influencing them. So if the king made a decree that is outlawing clerics from doing healing magic outside of temples, that's all I need to know. I don't need to know the king's decision, why he made the decision, until the players go, I want to go talk to the king about this. It's like, okay, cool. I'm making a palace today. But I've also found that rendering doesn't necessarily have to be pre-planned. So a lot of the times people will ask a question, and one thing that I personally excel at as a DM is the improv. So creating things out of thin air right in front of the players' faces. And I know that's something that I there's probably some DMs out there that are listening to this that are like, excuse you?
You
No.
can't do that.
No. I spend weeks trying to plan every NPC and stuff like that. I'm like, I wish I could do that. I'm terrible at writing campaigns out beforehand. I have major plot, minor plot, and what are they doing right now? Everything else pretty much, and if my players listen to this, they might be shocked because the reality is when they get to where they're going, I have everything planned. I have everything. I have answers for every question. That's just how my brain works. I've spent my entire childhood making up characters and giving them in-depth backstories and making up entire personalities for these people. So if you ask me what their favorite color is, I'm not going, roll a die, Turk blue, I'm like, oh no, well, it'd be teal because that's what his mother used to swaddle him with, and that's actually imprinted on him since then. It's like, what? You know his mom is? It's like, nope. If you ask me about it, I'll have an answer really quick. But
well, yes,
nope.
but so that's actually one of my favorite things to touch on is, and it again comes from also me trying to do writing and stuff, is your goal isn't to have the answer to every question, but is instead to have a means to find the answer to every question. Like for me, like I have in the game that you're literally playing in, I have a list of every god's domain, and almost all of them have names because that was so important to the world building process, to the point where I that's the main thing I have. Most of my locations relate to a god in some way because that's important to the story.
Yeah.
Every place that doesn't relate to a god, I can figure that out once you get there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's something that I know a lot of DMs struggle with, and it's something that like I'm truly blessed that I can just do that, because like I like to draw inspiration from stuff like the Monster Manual, which is a book about the monsters and gives like statistics for like how much health and what kind of attacks they can do. I very rarely actually have a stat block for any monsters that I have in front of me. And I know a DM personally that absolutely hates that. I mean, they're like, I didn't see you glance at a stat block once, and I'm like, and I didn't have the heart to tell them I don't have a stat block for Scrooge. Like
I remember
don't.
Scrooge.
You helped me. You helped me develop this character.
I helped with that.
You did, yeah. But so I did a Christmas one shot. The players were trying to fight Scrooge as a villain. This is actually the monster that I use. Some people might be familiar with it. If you look it up, it's the first thing that pops up. It's a beholder. Now, a beholder does not look like Scrooge as you've ever seen him before. But what I did was what beholders do is they're a big floating head with a one eye and a big toothy mouth. And then they have lots of little eye stalks that come out of them. I don't know why I'm gesturing because no one's watching this. But it's got lots of eye stalks that are coming out of this, the head, that have more eyes. Each eye has a different like think like Superman's laser vision, like heat vision. But each one has its own different beam that it shoots out. And I was like, okay, I don't want him to be a spellcaster, because Scrooge being a spellcaster, that's like chanting spells and moving motions and stuff like that. And I don't want to just take that out. And I don't think that's like what he would be doing. Like, that's not the vibe that I get from Scrooge. I was like, it would be like what he does is he casts these airs of stuff. He oozes
He
this,
just
like,
exudes it.
he exudes depressiveness, oppressiveness, sadness, and loneliness. And like, it's not like he's actively doing it. It's more passive than that. It's a natural thing that happens with him. And I thought that the beholder was a good thing for that. So the only thing I really did was reskin and change a few of those like beams, because one of them like paralyzes people, another one is like a heat blast, another one, like, I don't remember all of them right off the top of my head, but like, I was like, those don't fit. Like, Scrooge isn't gonna burn somebody. What he is gonna do is he's gonna cast depression on them. Like, anybody in that line is gonna he's just so miserly, you feel sad. And so I made rules for what a depression beam was. I made a oppression beam that makes you feel more weight and stuff like that. And so I made all these things. I had no idea what his health was. I had no idea what his movement speed was. I had some vague ideas about like what he would add to like like his strength was, what his movement ability was. Like, in D&D it's called dexterity. That's how agile you are. And so like, I had some idea of what those would be. I had like vague numbers in my head. But the way I run a lot of my monsters is and my players, if you're listening,
I don't do this. If you're listening, this does not happen. I know everything. But
no, well, so what I actually do, and I learned this from a YouTuber that talked about this, about how he fudges health bars, because every once in a while you just have a party that's like they synergize super well, and all of a sudden this huge like 400 health thing is just decimated in a second, and you're like, not even everyone got to go. Like, not everyone got their hand on this ball in this game. Like, oops.
Yep.
So what somebody told me, and I took two different things and put them together. But one of them's like, if they are killing too fast, I just double their hit points in the moment. I'm like, okay, but that seems kind of arbitrary. And then someone else was talking about puzzles in D&D. And like puzzles, like so many DMs have such specific, like, okay, so first you have to move this block to that block, and then this one needs to go there, and then you have to put the candle turn upside down as you turn it back over, like a blizzard, and then the door will open. It's like, and you have clues to this? Well, I don't really know how to make clues for that. They'll figure it out. It's pretty obvious. It's like, that's not going to work. And so one person was like, I have what I call open-ended puzzles, which I don't have a solution for at all. I wait till one of my players comes with an idea that I'm like, yep, that's it. You got it. And so I kind of combine those two things. So I have the hit points that I can just double, and I've got this open-ended solution. So what I actually have is open-ended health. So I don't have like a health bar that goes down. I have a damage tracker that goes up. And when I feel like everybody's actually like doing it and like getting into the fight, and like they're like, yeah, okay, after this he's got to be like close, and I'm like, I can gauge my players and go, I think you can do a little bit more and still be excited about this. And then, you know, they finally get to this threshold. I'm like, yeah, no, you absolutely just destroyed this thing. You know, I can give them like the halfway marker, which in a lot of video games and in D&D is called bloodied. So they're bloodied. That's half health. They're halfway there. So I'll give them that of like, yeah, they're bloodied. They're not looking great. And, you know, sometimes they're like, okay, so we need to do, I'm like, no, just keep going. Don't try and figure out how many damage you did and double that. Like, that's not the point of this. The point is that you can build these epic fights that don't drag on. I don't have to be like, well, I'm going to cut his health because they're just tired of this fight now. It's a very cute little dragon that nobody can see, Sean.
Dragon.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't even try that one.
Dungeons and
Dragons. But it's just a system that I've used for a while where I just you're still laughing about it. It's fine. No, I didn't even realize I did that one. But it's a system I've used to make it so that combat is dynamic, that they're not just fighting monsters endlessly until, you know, like they're not trying to calculate necessarily what is going to be. They're not doing what's called metagaming, which is thinking too much about the rules actively and going, okay, so this is a fire type of like whatever, like it's probably resistant to fire, so I don't want to cast fireball or this or that because and this spell, it's actually it's a holy spell, but it actually does fire damage, and so I'm not going to use that one even though it's one of my best ones because it'll be reduced by about 50%, and so I'm not going to do that because that wouldn't be like as effective. I'm like, stop.
What would your character do?
Yeah, what would your character do? Because your character is a paladin. It's a holy fighter. Make it do its holy fighter thing. It doesn't matter.
One of my favorite things, because I do something very similar. I do the count up rather than subtract, but that's mostly because the math is easier a little bit, I think, most of the time.
That's what I started with, is I would count up to the hit point.
That I think...
Right, but then I just took the lid off and I'm like, let's just see.
But I also think that there is a lot of benefit to something that you would do as writing like a novel as opposed to playing D&D, is the person that they're fighting is gonna win or lose at a appropriate thematic time in a book. In a book, when you're writing, the loss isn't going to be once the characters do a set amount of attacks, you know?
Right.
The loss is going to happen once the story says that they're going to lose.
Right.
And so what I've found a lot of the time is when I have a pretty big fight, and it's supposed to be difficult, and the triumph is important, when the fight is going down, I'm I'm really big into math. Like math is like how my brain works. So I can
I
calculate.
am not.
Yeah, that's just like math is like my thing in my
Yeah.
brain. So I know exactly how much damage my team is at my set of players is averaging every turn. And
Mhm.
I like strive to know my players really well. So when I get to their turn, almost all of the time I can essentially determine what they're going to do, or at least really
Mhm.
close.
You have at least a
The
guesstimation.
I can guesstimate what they're gonna do. I have some people who are my favorite to play with. Joel, you're one of them, who does really good at creative solutions partway through and that's my favorite because I don't have to prepare for your turn because I go, okay, Joel is going to do a creative solution, which means that he's either going to do something that nets positive really good or really bad. So no matter what, Joel's turn is going to go great for me as the
it
DM.
yeah,
And
it's
and
material.
so when it comes to like getting that health bar right, I
Mhm.
find that a good time for them to start winning is when it's a good time thematically for them to start winning.
Yeah.
In fact, in one of the fights in the first game of the Near to the Gods game that we play, which is the title of
Mhm.
like my campaign or whatever.
Yeah, we can
Um,
get into that in a minute.
yeah, we'll jump there. We'll jump there for sure.
Yeah.
But in that first fight that you guys did, um, he had a whole set. There was like four of them, and there was going to be this whole thing where if you took out one, his like remaining health would get split among the other ones, making the fight progressively harder. And you guys
Mm.
saw those four peeps and went, all right, I'm going to go after this one, you go after that one, you go after that one, and you go after that one. And then and then it was like, oh, I'm just gonna hit both of them at the same time because we have a gunslinger in our midst. Oh, I'm fast enough to get from there. I have a fly speed so I can get over there. And so it was just like it was so perfect because my entire rule set that I had in mind for how that was gonna work ended up not mattering because the actual act of doing that fight was so much better for you guys and so much cooler that the
Yeah.
actual numbers of how much damage you guys were dealing ended up mattering less because of the way you guys went about doing that damage.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people don't quite understand about what's so great about Dungeons and Dragons versus something like Baldur's Gate 3. Is Baldur's Gate 3, which by the way just got recently. I It went on sale so I could actually finally buy it, and I haven't gotten very far, but it's a blast. And I will be honest, if you if you don't want to like jump into Dungeons and Dragons, that's a decent way to at least get an idea of how to play vaguely, and a decent taste of what it's like. It's a little bit of a taste, but the thing that makes actual Dungeons and Dragons better is that dynamic nature of the game. That's the whole point of having a dungeon master, is that those things can be choices that are made actively that a game can't do. Like they're pretty good at like these like branching storylines and yes or no or the third option and that leads to this thing and this thing leads to that thing. But I have never seen a game system, a video game system that can go, hey, actually I like the way that the players are doing this better, so I'm gonna just let it happen this
I'm just
way.
gonna switch up.
Right.
Or like I know you real big touched on improv as
Uh-huh.
well, and so oh man, I have so much I have to say about that. I love it. I literally openly started improving a game. I said I was sitting down with one of my friends who I had played a bunch of D&D with, and he said, "Let's play D&D." do you have like and he was like, I'm like, can you DM? Like, that'd be awesome, because he was like, I love your DMing style or whatever. And I was like, oh man, trying to butter me up, so I DM for you.
I mean, you
But
do have a fantastic DM style. I love
thanks.
playing with you. Sorry, no better there.
But I was like, yeah, sure, I have something in mind. And what I meant by that was,
I
in
have
the
an
5 minutes
inspiration
it
for
took him to
something.
roll up a character, I wrote out what I had in mind. And he was aware that most of it was improv. And he, for like years after that, every time was like, hey, can we play that game? Hey, can we play that campaign? Like, constantly. And I just, like, on the spot did it, you know?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to like having a system that can be improv,
Right.
that can be player oriented,
Mhm.
I some of the first games I ever ran, I literally never made a plot for them. And now I do sometimes. I make plots, but the first games I ever ran, I waited till I got all of the backstories for all of the characters. I read
Mhm.
all of the backstories and went, okay, we can make something from this. And I
Yeah.
exclusively used backstories to form an entire plot line, rather than a plot line to try to fit backstories into.
Mm,
And
gotcha.
and that's like, no game system can do that other than the human mind.
Right. You can't. Yeah, no. There's not a system that can plug in like 5 different players and what their little short story they wrote about their character and why it's now, a rogue, elfin rogue that his adoptive parents are actually worse than his dead parents were, because they're in a gang, but they're actually a good gang, but I didn't know that. And my village exploded because of cat. And it's like, what? It's like, and then okay, that's one of them. All right, what's the other one? It's like, my family got murdered. Okay, cool. What's yours? I was an orphan. Okay, cool. Like, sorry, I'm
Right.
generalizing because it's a common thing for it's a trope, especially for rogues. It's like, my parents were murdered and I grew up in the streets. I'm basically Batman, but I'm definitely not Batman because I kill people. It's like,
Yeah.
cool, that's original.
Okay.
What's your
Hey.
backstory as a rogue? Oh yeah, the same.
Oh yeah, I'm
Exactly,
him too. Me
actually.
too. Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But my parents were orcs and his were elves. All right, cool. But
Yeah,
like,
some of my biggest like favorite backstories are when one of my players was like, I just think that it'd be really interesting if, like, she hasn't done anything yet. It's like she's not anything. And so it was one of the homebrew things. They were playing a cursed doll. So it was like, what if she was like just given life and she escaped and now she's off doing the world? She's not done or seen anything. And it's like that.
interesting.
I love that. It was a 1 paragraph backstory. And that
Yeah.
paragraph was, she was formed in a wizard's tower. The wizard left. She read some books and she left. That was it.
Okay, really weird. That sounds like a movie that I still don't understand after watching it twice, I think. But the beginning of it, the movie is 9.
Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've watched that movie.
Really weird. Still don't understand half of it. But the beginning
Same
is
concept.
this doll, this like sackcloth, like a potato sack doll wakes up in a tower in a post-apocalyptic world and tries to figure out what's going on and what they're doing there.
Straight up.
And it's like, I have no idea, nothing before this. I just sat up.
Yeah.
World. What do I do with it?
And it was such and the funny part is that same table, I received a 5-page and a 10-page backstory from the other peeps. And one of them, literally a published author, right? That was the 10-page one. And yet, when we actually got down to it, one of the best backstories at the table was that one, because the one who did 10-page was, I was a warrior, all this stuff happened to me, and now I don't really like doing it. I don't want to kill people. And so
Yeah.
it was really fun to get big, buff, literal war person, cursed doll, and them going side by side, and the plot actually being really important to their characters.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
You can do anything.
Right. And I think that one of the things that players struggle with backstories is, especially if you're starting with like low levels, like similar to video games in tabletop RPGs, you level up, you accomplish certain goals or do enough things, and you get enough XP to level up. Oftentimes these backstories are for like level 1 characters. They're just starting off, and it's like, well, after I defeated the king of Nosfoth, I then decided to run. I was like, no, if you defeated a king of Nosroth, you would be a higher level character. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, straight up.
And so it's I do like, and Sean, you're very well aware of this, I like giving open-ended backstories to DMs that I know can do stuff with it.
Yes.
Because like, and I'll give an example, and we'll jump into this campaign that we're doing right now. But I'm playing, and all this will be an interesting thing to try and describe each of these things. So I'm playing a changeling. That's pretty straightforward.
Shapeshifter.
In D&D, shapeshifter. Their body is malleable. In the lore of the characters in D&D, that's actually part of their language, is changing colors and sizes and stuff like that. Like, that's how they communicate. No more than like our eyebrows and like cheeks are part of like how we communicate as humans. But like, their green nail, blue eye could be the name of a person in changeling culture. And then so can turn into anybody they want. They are a very accomplished rogue, which is like thief, spy, assassin type, and a bard, which is the charming, typically when you think of bards, it's a good looking person, a musician, but they use music or their voices to tap into magic. Bards are usually really good at charming and convincing and like getting people to do what they want. So this character, and for this game that is near to the gods, which Sean is massively running, which is
good times.
twice the level that most D&D games run to, which most D&D games your character can get up to level 20.
Yeah, in
So
like the standard rules, there is no such thing as level 21.
Right. So level 20
in like
is
standard D&D rules.
You are the highest level you can get. You are maxed out. Sean's game is running, and those are like epic heroes. Those are usually like demigods. That is your Hercules. Your literally blanked on all other like demigods and level 20 heroes in like lore. Can you give some examples of like real lore, like Greek mythology?
I mean, you got Hercules. I think is like the top one. I'm trying to think. I mean, like
Ulysses. Whoops,
Ulysses. Yeah. Ulysses. I feel like you get to like Perseus at the end of the story.
Right.
Is
these
like,
are
it's all end story people, and
right.
So when I wanted to play this, it would be really cool because that's like the highest you ever get, and you're really powerful.
Quick note. I want to point this out to my listeners. He is running the game. So when he says, I was looking forward to playing this, he's not talking about as a character in the game. This is the sign of a good DM, is when their thought of I want to play in this world isn't I want to be a character in this world, is I want to have fun messing with this world and letting people run amok in it.
And letting people play in it.
Right. but that's a good DM, and I count myself humbly in this category of I like playing
Yeah,
in
you
my
for
world. When I
sure in
say
the category of good
play,
DM, straight up.
I play as the world, and I love playing as the world. It's
Yeah.
fun. So I just want to make a note of that because it's something that Sean would not have noticed that he says that way. But I wanted to point it like that is a sign of a good DM. Not I want to run this game that's based off of this thing, and I have the end goal of how everyone's gonna die and or how everyone's gonna finish the whatever. Like there are DMs that like they have a story written out front to end. They have plot points that the characters need to hit, and if they don't, they're gonna throw a fit about. So there's a lot of different DM styles, and I just wanted to point out that that's one of my favorite. I do it myself, and Sean is another one. One of the reasons he's on here is because I know he has that same style of like, this is so much fun for me to just exist in here. We're all in this together, and I just happy to be here to help give you this world. Anyway, so when you're coming up with this
Thanks, Joel.
idea, you're welcome.
Yeah. So when I had this, it was because a long time ago I played in a game that didn't stop at level 20, and I think like if you really wanted to put it on paper, my character's level was written in scientific notation in that game, and it was wild and stupid and fun, but
Yeah.
it was crazy not just being powerful, right? Because even in like the context of D&D, like some of the most powerful creatures, even level 20 groups of level 20 players would still like have some level of struggle with.
Right.
And so I was like, what if we went past that and kept going, you know? So I designed and wrote up the rules for breaking the level 20 cap and going to level 40 for the players. I technically have rules to go way past that.
I was gonna say because we're starting at level 40.
Yeah, that's the starting point. So these characters are coming in being essentially the only reason why they're not definitionally demigods in this world is pretty much just because they haven't done the stuff to become a demigod. It is like the like in air quotes, you know, that kind of idea.
Yeah. With that, I want to jump back to my what brought us into this in the first place, which my character, when I gave him this, like he's this shifter, he can take any form, he's a bard, so he can convince anybody that he is whoever he's pretending to be, you know, but he used to work for somebody. But because he would take on so many other personas, like constantly, and he was so good at like think method actors that go crazy after they do their role in real life, like, but with somebody that their body's designed to take on these other forms and a mind and abilities that let him take on the actual persona of the person, he got so deep into it, he doesn't know who he is anymore. And so what I gave Sean as a backstory is used to work for somebody as an assassin / hitman / spy, whatever, forgot who he was, and because his whole entire thing is turning to other people, their employer hasn't contacted them. If that's on purpose, if they let him go, if he was fired, if this is a Jason Bourne situation, if this is oops, I lost my patron, I, as the player, have zero clue. And so what I have given Sean is have fun. I'm looking forward to finding out how I got here. And I know that Sean is going to go, oh, boy, howdy, do I have a plan for you. And it gives him just a blank slate to just have fun.
And it is really fun, especially because, again, with this specific world, when I was making it, I was like, this is going to be my magnum opus, is what I was really thinking when I was making it. So I was like, okay, I want to have, because I've done so much like improv, story creation and stuff. I was like, I want to have the most amount of information I can have for this world while still being the kind of world I play, which the kind of world I play is I give my players the opportunity to make up places in my world. I do it all the time because it's better to say, like, if someone just says, oh yeah, what about, like, can there, like, what if I did this somewhere in this
I
one
grew up in
kingdom?
New York City.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like,
yeah,
okay.
there's a place like that.
Yeah, and so if I had every place in the world ready, I'd have to be like, okay, what would be the closest place to call New York City, you know? But instead, I
Right.
let them make it up, and I give them that opportunity. And so being given on the game that I have done some of the most amount of work I've done for
Uh-huh.
a game, being given a character who is have fun, I'm having so much fun. And
Yeah.
and I have um puzzles. I in one of his abilities that I gave him, I left a part blank because he doesn't remember and he doesn't know. And so I left a part blank, and I don't know if I'm gonna put like characters in it that you'll find and figure out and translate and stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna do that quite yet. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how I'm gonna figure out how you find out information about yourself.
Yeah.
But I know exactly, and it was crazy because when you gave me the backstory of
Uh-huh.
have fun, essentially, I had one specific idea in mind, and I was like, I'm going with that. I'm going with that for sure. So,
Right.
like, it's really fun because I know exactly some pieces of information, and then I'm like, as he
I know
figures it out,
exactly
I'll have...
vaguely what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I know exactly vaguely like what's going on here.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun being able to have a character backstory that is just
Here's your blank canvas.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like personally, I I've seen so many DMs online or different things like that where they say, like, they essentially complain about
Ooh.
Wii
What'd
U.
you do, Sean? Well, that's staying in there now.
Yeah, that has to be.
Scurries away.
He just runs full sprints. Anyway, as I was saying, I've seen so many DMs, and I've actually played with one who was like essentially complained that a character's backstory was too much work for them. I had a DM complain that my character's backstory was too much effort because of one thing, and that was that it was the one of the first characters ever built. He was a bard. He was like that. He was the stereotypical bard almost,
Mhm.
and his backstory involved that he was just, wooing two princesses at the same time, and it caused a fight between the two kingdoms or whatever. And when I gave him that, he was like, cool, that's good. And like, we played that campaign for a while, and while very deep into it, he was like, I hate your backstory. It was crazy. And so, like, the idea of saying that is wild to me. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, but like,
I was
it's
gonna say-
crazy.
Good. Sorry. Oh my gosh. So I was just gonna say, like, if I was in that situation as a DM, I'd sit there going, like, I have two options. I can either say I don't like this right off the bat, like, or I can say, or just not deal with it. I can just be like, it's not gonna play a major role. Like, you're not gonna be near those two kingdoms. Like,
That's the other
really
thing.
easy.
It did not play a role at all the entire time. The
Yeah.
only moment where it actually was important was I got an effect cast on me that made me see my biggest fear, and it was those two kingdoms fighting.
No, I have to deal with an illusion of two women fighting
And
over a person.
he didn't even have a problem with that when it happened. It was like a year later. And like,
that's wild. Well, so I was gonna say this earlier. Is like, I also wouldn't have given you just I don't have a I don't have a backstory. I thought long and hard about this and was like, I think Sean will like being able to have this. But if I thought of anyone else was doing the same thing, I would be like, nope, I'm not putting that much work in the DM. Like, I just like I know at least when we first started, I knew the other people that were doing it. I'm like, I know they're gonna have a backstory. I know they're gonna have story. They're gonna have stuff to give the DM. But I was like, you know what? I like being the moldable thing that can fit into whatever. I could be the thing that actually ties everyone's character together, and they wouldn't know it, and neither would I.
And then nobody would know it.
It's like, yeah,
It's so
about
great.
4 decades ago, I was the mayor that actually gave him his first medal. It's like, I was? Oh,
Oh, cool.
I forgot about that persona that I made entirely up from whole cloth that long ago. And it's like, oh, and then apparently for 5 years, I was this guy's uncle. Okay, cool. And I gave him his first sword? Huh? Like, but I know that the other people had stuff for him to work with. And so I was like, I know that he will have fun with this. He would not have as much fun if everybody did the same thing. I'm like, figure out all their backstories.
I will say one of my favorite things about that game is that, and I was about to say this, and then I realized it was spoilers, and then I realized it's not spoilers because you actually already know. I was like spoilers, and then I went,
Not
wait,
spoilers.
every player's okay, not spoilers. 2 of the players are from another dimension, and 2 of the player characters are from a different dimension, and it's really fun because they are so powerful in their dimension that I couldn't even just make it like another plane of existence, and I couldn't just make it another universe. I had to make it a different multiverse, so it's like these completely different multiverses that should never be able to travel together, and yet they're there. Because if they were able to travel, they would have their original power levels, which are both insane. And so it's really fun to have to play with, okay, how does that interact here? And then go over to your character and go, okay, how does that work? And then go over to our other friends and see how their characters work and stuff. And so it's so fun, like piecing and putting that together.
Yeah, but this, by the way, fantastic. It as a DM for as long as I have, being able to play at just unfathomable levels and have like
insane power level.
I had way too much fun with this last campaign. I had way too many abilities that I've wanted to use for ages, and being able to use them both at level 20 for each of these different classes, which is a full build in each of these, which is insane for most people to handle. And like being able to just do that and not have to worry about like, did my character break the game? I'm like, nope, Sean's got it. I don't have to worry about it, and just go ham on it. Is phenomenal. But that's
I'm a game breaker as like a person. It's funny, the person you played last session with, she makes her own systems all the time. And actually I would love to touch on that in this episode as well a little bit, but
you have to remind me.
Rather than I it's in there somewhere.
Gotcha.
Instead of just playing D&D, she makes her own rule set, or she uses D&D as a base set and then makes a whole other rules, and so it's really cool because she makes this rule set completely from scratch for her game, and then she invites me in to check on her, like to help her with rules and stuff like that. But the main thing, and she knows this, the first thing I do is, what can I do to break this? And like
it's a stress test.
It's a stress test, but it's also how I've come up with characters. Like she had one where you could play as like a witch, but in like the like actual like ritualistic witch doctor kind of set. And I was like, what if I played, because it's like it was like, hold on, Harvest Moon, the game Harvest Moon, right? Okay. Where you're a farm, you're in a farming town, and there's magic happening somewhere around as well, but you're in a farming town, and there's farming stuff. So I was like, what if I made the most what if I just made like this, hey, he's a little farmer guy, but that's actually like a clone for the witch that's controlling him or whatever. And she was like, that sounds cool. And so I literally broke the game so bad for that one, because I made it where essentially like it's like, oh, like you choose classes in a bunch of
Right.
games like that. I kind of broke it where I have every class as that character, and because of who I am as a player, I'm not going to use that to destroy the game. I'm just going to use that to have fun.
Have fun,
You
right?
know?
Have fun. Yep.
But yeah, I do that for all of her games. And she knows it. I break her games like crazy. So when I invited her to play Near to the Gods specifically, I said, "Break the game. Do
Yeah.
it." And she said, "Maybe."
Yeah. Well, and so I was gonna go back to like how much fun it is to let people do that. So I've heard a few people describe different like DM styles, and one of them I've heard describe as the Nick Fury. And I love that description. What they talk about is a DM that hands out way too many magic items, gives players way too many like extra abilities for no reason. But what that also means that as a DM you can do is throw them against things that they're woefully underleveled for, but they have the magic items to take care of it. So, like thinking of Nick Fury in the Avengers, you have Cap's shield that's indestructible. You have Tony Stark's power armor that is wildly like super powered. You have Mjolnir, a boomeranging, unliftable, in infinitely heavy hammer that can call lightning down from heaven. You have vibranium that can cut through anything and store kinetic energy and release it on command. It's like, these are all physics and world breaking things. What does that mean? It means it can stop an invasion from an alien force as what, 8 people? It's like, wait, 8 people stopped an entire army? Yeah, well, because they got these wild magic super powered items. If you take away all of their items, they would not be stopping that alien invasion as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I'm that same way, and I actually just ran a prologue precursor to actually a vastly different game than Near to the Gods. But I'm starting them off as level 20, which is, they are legendary heroes. You are the people, the heroes people talk about. And I'm bringing them together to fight these evil things that are happening. And this was yesterday. I ran the game, and this is the first time a few of them have played a level 20 character. Even though they're all like, most of them are lifetime DMs, they usually don't get very high. Like, oftentimes campaigns, how people do them, which I think is kind of stupid, but that's just me. But I'm like, level up people more often. Just do it anyway. Sorry, that's just my little like PSA to all DMs out there. Level your characters up more often.
DMs, if you're listening to this podcast and you have a game that you're running right now, just give them a level for fun right now. See what happens.
1 free level. There you go.
1 free level.
Yeah. But it's something that, like, most of the time, if I'm running a game for people, most people are leveling up fairly rapidly. Like, you're not going very many sessions as level 1. Like, that's pretty quick. And then it's not till you get to like 7th level where it's like you're gonna run a couple nights of playing that character at level 7, and then maybe on that 4th night you're getting level 8, and then maybe on the 5th night after that you're getting 9. But it's happening fast, and so I like to give people these levels, and especially for people that haven't done it, being able to play at level 20. They were having a blast. I was boosting
20 is so fun.
Well, I also, because they are specifically like heroes of the realm, like they are people that have stopped big evil things from happening. Like, so it's not just level 20, it's level 20 plus technically.
Yeah.
So like their health, to give the people listening about an idea, some like at level 20, like 200 health is kind of like a middle ground, I would say, right? Like some classes might have more, some might have less. I told everyone to start with 400 and then roll an extra D100 and add whatever that is to your health.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they are vastly like they're just hardy characters. And then I was like, okay, so damage in D&D is usually rolled by rolling X amount of these specific dice. So in D&D we use a 20-sided die, 12-sided die, 10-sided die that you can roll twice and it's a percentile die, 8-sided die, 6-sided die, and a 4-sided die. Hold
There
on,
you go.
I panicked for a second. I was like, I know, I use these all the time. So like, if something is a D6 is a standard die, 6-sided die. You've probably played with them before. So like, if you roll a dagger you hit with a dagger, it's going to be like 1d6. So 1d6 dagger damage. Well, what I did was I told them if it's 1d6, it's going to be actually 3d6. So I was tripling their damage output for every weapon at very least. And then their spell damage was like, I was giving them extra like 4 or 5 dice to roll. So like I would like, depending on what spell level it was, I would give them an extra certain amount of dice for that. So like I had somebody rolling 12 d12 for damage. So that's 12-sided dice for damage, which is a lot of damage.
A lot.
And then on top of that, they also happened to knock the primary enemy unconscious. So that is a critical failure for saves against spells. And the way I run crit damage, which is different from how D&D runs crit damage, is so a critical hit is the absolute best or worst you can do. Oh, there's a little baby. Sorry, and it's not mine this time. So a critical hit is on a 20-sided die. When you roll to hit something and you land on that 20th side, is a critical hit. It means it's the best possible. At least this is how I run it, and it's more or less how they say you should run it. Is that is the best possible thing you could do. It's the cleanest cut you could make, the best punch you could do, whatever. So normally it's you roll your damage and then double it. And to me that's underpowered, because if you roll like a 1 on all of the damage, that's nothing. You're like, yeah, I did a really good cut. Oh, and you kind of nicked him a little bit. It's like, well, yeah, that's lame. So what I do is you start with the maximum amount of damage, and then you roll damage on that.
That's exactly what I like to do.
I heard it somewhere, and I was like, that's amazing, because then it's you have one perfect hit. So max damage is basically that 1d6 we're talking about. You automatically make that die a 6, and then you add whatever you add to that. So at 12d12,
144 damage base, and then 12d12
and then they're
on top
rolling
of that.
another 12d12 for damage, and I don't accept 1s or 2s as options for any die roll.
Nice. So everything's brutal critical, or whatever that thing is.
At least it's above a certain percent. Like, you're not getting these like, oh, I kind of did a little bit of damage here. It's you are guaranteed to be doing at least half damage on a d6. On a d6, and less on a bigger die, but you also have more chance to get a bigger number on those bigger dice. So yeah. I had one person cast a spell that did that 12d12 plus 30. So it's 12d12 plus 30 and as the base, and then they roll damage plus 30. And so these people are playing, and they're like, they feel powerful. They feel strong as they're facing off against what I called and this is going to be really interesting lore really quick, but a Frankensteinian Behir. Now, a Behir is, in lore, giants had an ancient battle with dragons. Dragons, you should know what dragons are. 4-legged creatures with wings. If it doesn't have 4 legs and wings, it is not a dragon. It is a wyvern or something else.
Or a worm, or there's several options.
There's a lot of things. But a dragon, an actual dragon, is quantified by having 4 legs and wings separate. And they breathe some sort of attack. Is in D&D at least. They breathe fire, ice, acid, poison, whatever. But the giants were fighting dragons, and so what they did was they actually used all their magic skills to actually change a unborn blue dragon, and they keep using blue dragons to form these Bahirs. They're like giant crocodile like things with lots of extra like lots of extra feet. So like a 12 legs, I think, big enough to swallow characters whole. And they breathe lightning, and they have more resistances than dragons do. They're epic. They're in my eyes, they are slept on monsters.
Good.
They're really cool, really epic. They make for an epic fight. And this one was actually I kind of stole a little bit from Full Metal Alchemist and Homunculi, and so it was a fused together monster. They didn't have a blue dragon. They took other animals and modified them with magic and used human souls to bind them to this adult Behir. So adult Behir, you can comfortably, if they open their mouth wide and just let it sit there, you can walk into their mouth. Fine. Like when you get to ancient, you can have a party walk comfortably in it, and you can actually, there's some people that have made adventures in ancient Behir's bellies, because there's so much room, you can actually have rooms in their guts and stuff like that. But this is an adult Behir, and they like, they had so much fun because they took this thing that they were like, oh my gosh, this is like, because they're used to playing at lower levels, so they see they're going, oh my gosh, I don't know, and then they like just start unleashing all their abilities that they have, and they're going like, they're just thrashing this thing to pieces. And you know, but they're letting off these, like, in one turn, I think they did like almost 800 damage. The way they ended it was somebody did so much slashing damage and then cast banishment on it, which sends it back to its original plane.
Oh,
But since it's
yeah.
in this plane using human souls, the human souls are banished to their paradise because they're innocent, and the animal pieces get back to the animals they got pulled from. So they killed it, definitely gave it way over their pretend hit points that I gave it, like way beyond that. And then they also rectified the situation, you know, but they were ecstatic at this, the amount of damage. And I love being caught off guard by what they do.
Yeah.
And I think some of them think that they're getting me, because they still don't understand that I'm on their side. But like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they had a feature called Sentinel, which means that if someone attacks, if you see someone get attacked by an enemy, you can, because you're just so keen on protecting others, you can just attack them, even though it's not your turn. And so one of my creatures almost died before on the creature's turn, because they both had Sentinel. And they're like, haha, you're gonna have to throw something better at us. I'm like, haha, I wanted you to destroy this thing and feel powerful.
That's what I love about, I mean, just Dungeons and Dragons in general, but the Near to the Gods campaign that I'm running
Mhm.
is the idea of, like, we are just so powerful that
Yeah.
I have fights planned for sure. And in fact, you guys, the first fight you guys did on that last session you guys played was designed as like a pretty normal encounter. It was amped up, but you guys whipped it real easy because it was, you know, it wasn't that kind. It was
Right.
to kind of play off the fact that you guys are super powerful.
Right. Like, these big
And
scary things aren't necessarily big and scary to you.
yeah. And then, like, on top of that, just regular D&D does that for me as well. And actually,
Yeah.
like you were mentioning, like starting at level 1, I don't even start at level 1 anymore for any game. I don't let my players start at level 1 unless unless the game is specifically designed around them being weak. Like, I
Yeah.
start at either level 3 or 5 most of the time now.
So I typically will do this a similar thing, because, like, again, you have, like, class ability. So when you pick a rogue, a paladin, a fighter, whatever, wizard, cleric, most of your like specialized skills start at level 3, which is in my opinion one of the few. I feel as comfortable saying this. One of the few drawbacks to D&D is not a lot happens until you get to level 3, and you're like, okay, now I can start playing the game. But I mean, that's the whole. That's kind of like not the whole point, but that's part of the point of this fantasy role playing game is you get to be these fantasy characters, casting magic spells and wielding epic weapons and having these really cool special abilities and having extra senses and being able to turn into things or turn other things into things, and it's kind of the point is like you have this fantasy world, and I feel like if the fantasy world is too much like reality, you're just pretending not to be in the world you're in, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And like that's not to say, because there is a lot of merit in games that take place in our world,
sure,
you know, but with magic or whatever, you know.
right. I mean,
And
Call of Cthulhu is a good example of that. As
yeah,
Eldritch Horror, it usually you can play in like 19th century, like noir era. You can take place in
yeah,
now, or you can take place in the future. But like it's the real world. It's just that ancient elder beings have a play are at play in this world, you know.
yeah.
So it's a little
And
darker,
that's
you know, whatever.
like
But
tagging into what D&D like really becomes, is that it is just you can do anything. It can be anything.
Mhm.
Sorry to cut it off right there, folks. But that does mean there's a part 2. Part 2 has a lot more in it. We recorded for about 3 hours. This was the best spot I could find to cut it off here. I am running a nice special. For these 2 episodes, the Icebreakers with Sean Miller are actually going to be free on my Patreon to give you a taste of what you're kind of missing out on if you're not subscribed to my Patreon. So please go check out my Patreon at Curious Joel. Nope, sorry. Patreon.com/Curious Joel, or you can search me up on Patreon. But that free Icebreakers gives you an idea of what you're missing out on a little bit. But that also means that you're missing out on, if you're not subscribed, that means you're not getting the early episodes. You're not getting the bonus episodes from either Car Talks, which is me and friends talking as we go somewhere about a topic. You're not getting the Joel Rants episodes, which are me putting my son to sleep while ranting about a specific subject that is on my nerves recently. You're also not getting the more exclusive content that I post there that is not in any of those categories. All that is there. You can also chat directly with me, give me ideas for topics that I should be talking about, questions that I should be asking, and I ask for other specific feedback from my Patreon listeners. So if any of that sounds interesting, please go check out my Patreon. $5 a month gets you all of that and helps support me as a podcaster. So if you want more content on the regular podcast, you supporting me on my Patreon helps me do that more so. Finally, you can check me out on Instagram at CuriousJoelcast, on Twitter/X at Joel Circo, or email me at CuriousJoelcast@gmail.com. As always, thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, stay curious, y'all.